Welcome to Modern Homestead, Alaska. I am Jessica, and today we are going to be working on filling our pantry with some home canned items. I have some tomatillos and some pears and some beautiful things that we need to get put in the pantry. Won't you join me? Well, starting out, I have this massive amount. We weighed it. It's about 8 pounds of tomatillos, and we actually grew all of these in the greenhouse. The only thing we're gonna be using for this recipe that we didn't grow is the jalapenos and the serranos, and I just have never gotten enough of a pepper harvest to grow those. We have some homegrown onions and garlic here that are gonna go in the tomatillo salsa. And then when we went to Costco, I picked up some limes, so I have those in the fridge. And when everything is roasted off, we're gonna use some lime in there as well. But I am pretty excited to get started on this tomatillo salsa that we're gonna can up. We're gonna hot water bath it, and we're gonna be able to have this for the whole rest of the year. The first thing I'm gonna do is kick on the broiler. We are gonna have to work in batches, and because it's so much. So I have 2-line baking sheets, and because it all gets mixed in together in the end, it's not gonna matter in what order I do this, but everything needs to have an exposure to the fire, the heat, and so I need it in a single layer. So first batch will have to be tomatillos. So tomatillos grow in a husk, and I pulled the husks off and washed these last night. I just didn't get this project started yesterday. Well, I sort of got it started because I had to clean all the tomatillos. So just straight, no oil or anything, just right under the broiler. All right, and then next up, the jalapenos and the serranos will go in, and then I'll start washing some onions. But to get these ready, I am just gonna pop the ends off like that, and then cut them in half. So, for about 6 pounds of tomatillos, it said like 3 to 6 jalapenos. We love everything spicy at our house, so I'm going to double that, at least. Let's do 8 jalapenos, ready to go. And let's do 6 serranos. 6. The rest of these can go in the fridge. We'll use them later this week. All right, I got a ton of the onions. All I did is wash them and then just split them in half and get those ready to roast so that I have a bit more surface area with the centers to roast off. And then I have a ton of garlic that I went ahead and rinsed. Just gonna take the ends off and peel those. Get those ready. All right, look at that. The first batch is done. I went ahead and flipped them partway through so they're nice and blistered, falling apart, and it only took a couple of minutes. Second batch under the broiler. And then back to the sheet pan, our jalapenos, serranos, and garlic. Onions. To process the tomatillos, we're gonna use the Ninja here. I already did the first batch. So just move the hot tomatillos just right in, and you want to keep all of the juice. Put your lid on. Great. So I'm just gonna use the same mixer in just a minute for the jalapenos, serranos, and the onions. All of that. So moving these together. Woo. We are going to do a hot pack method, so I'm going to have to reheat this on the stove, but while it's sitting here, I'm going to add a couple of things to it. I'm going to start with some dry cilantro because I don't have any fresh, and quite a bit because it will go really, really far. And then I'm going to start cutting and juicing all of these limes. So this recipe isn't exactly a recipe, like this many pounds and this many of that. It's more of a method than an exact like baking recipe where you need X amount of cups of flour with sugar and a leavening agent, and you know exactly what those are. This is more of give a little, take a little where you can, but you do need to make sure, and that's with the tomatillos and the lime juice, that the acid content is high enough that it is safe for hot water bath canning. The other way we're gonna make sure that it's safe is we are going to heat all of it together and then pack the jars hot, put them in the hot cooking liquid, and make sure that we hot water bath them for 20 minutes. And after that, we should have a great little salsa. Woo. Just bring that together. The bowl is super hot. Going in. I'm just gonna use a little juice from the tomatillos to help blitz this up. All right, we're just gonna add that in. And now that we have all 3 batches in, I'm gonna add some salt. And then I'm gonna start heating it. Let the flavors come together a little, and then I'm gonna taste test it and see if it needs any more. I'm just starting with 1 tablespoon. That's 8 pounds of tomatillos, so I think I'm gonna do 2. We can always add more salt, we can't take it away. So we'll start with that. It needs to kind of dissolve in there and cook together. Over here in my hot water bath canner, I have some jars that we've used before. They've been cleaned, soap and water, and now I'm just boiling them to sterilize them. Because this isn't gonna be pressure canned, we wanna make sure the jars are completely sterile. Okay, it's heated to a simmer, which it can be canned from here, but let's taste it and see if it needs more salt. I'm just using a chip because this might be some way we actually eat it. That is not spicy, but I get a lot of the lime and the tomatillo. I'm not getting a ton of onion or jalapeno. That's good. Yeah, because it's supposed to taste like a tomatillo salsa. It's not salty at all. The chip is salty. I don't think the salsa should be too salty. Maybe I'll just leave it. That is beautiful. That is nice and thick. Okay, these jars should be good. I'm gonna pull them out and we will jar the salsa. decided to go with pints because I think this is, well, they're super hot, but that's the size that we will probably open and eat our way through before the salsa goes bad. One more stir. Now that they've come together a little bit longer, let me just double check. It doesn't need anything. That's simple. Excellent. Got a clean wash rag that I just wet. Brand new lid, straight out of the box, and then I washed it, and then a used ring, and then straight into the canner. We're gonna hot water bath these for 20 minutes. What that means is all of the cans or jars are covered over completely with water. We're gonna let it come to a rolling boil and let it go for a whole 20 minutes. And then we're gonna pull them out and let them completely cool overnight before we even mess with them. Good news, all of our tomatillo jars sealed up just fine. I took the rings off because we don't store them with the rings on because it can, if there was a false seal, so if this popped, but that ring was on, it might suck back down, but it could be growing something in it. So we always leave them like this. We check them, everything's sealed, so that's perfect. And then I just give the jars a quick wash before they go into the pantry. So they're just gonna sit here and dry while we move on to today's canning project. And I'm very excited about that. Well, I got 2 cases of pears from Azure. These are organic red Bartlett pears, and they are on sale right now. I'll link Azure. That's where I get all of my bulk spices that you see, lots and lots of different things, and even my jars for my milk, all of these different things you can get from Azure, cleaning supplies, you name it. And it's a great way for us up here in Alaska to get amazing organic things that we wouldn't be able to get in the state. Otherwise, we pay a shipping fee that is not an Azure fee because it goes onto a barge and we pay that barge to come up to Anchorage. Anyway, the red pears are quite a bit smaller and much different than the case of green pears. Let me show you. So these are also Bartlett pears, green, organic, and so on. Look at the size. They are so big and beautiful. So these ones, we've just been eating a ton of them. And then also I'm going to, for the holidays, dip them in caramel and white chocolate. And I may do some pear desserts. So I'm gonna leave these fresh, but I am going to can up the other case. In order to get started, I'm gonna do a test run because peeling them is very, very taxing, but if I can rub off the skin by boiling them for just a couple of minutes, that's gonna be easier. Let me just boil one small pan. I don't know if it'll work as well as like a peach. We'll try it. I did want to say, because they are red pears, they are firm, and the green parts, because they're also organic, they are not the prettiest to look at. So, super firm, super firm, and you want that when you're canning them. That was nice that they didn't come over ripe. If they did, you would just turn them into something like a pear butter. But we're going to either have or quarter or slice ours in the jar, but looking at them, they don't look all that appetizing. I might not buy them at the grocery store, but knowing what I'm going to turn them into and what they should look like, they're actually fine. Okay, I got my little pot of water coming up to the boil, and we will just sample and see if just dropping it in. If so, I'll get a great big pot of water and dump a bunch of them at once. Okay, test pear going in. So just pulled it out, and it does. It peels without having to get the vegetable peeler. Okay, so the directions, I did see someone say to do it this way. They are correct. So there we go. One beautifully peeled pear, and that literally just took seconds. While the boiling water comes up to temp, I do have some citric acid and some cold water in here, and this is just gonna keep the pears from browning. So I'm gonna just dissolve a good shake of this. The pears are going to cook for a few minutes, so none of this matters, but it is one of those fruits that will turn brown if left out into the air to oxidize. In just a couple of seconds, look, it's already wanting to brown. So we'll put those in there and just let everything cool off. Because the pears went so quick, I'm gonna work in batches. So what I'm gonna do is just drop a handful of them in, move them to this strainer, peel them, and put them in the citric acid water while I put another batch in here. What I don't want to do is to be peeling so many that whatever is in the pot boiling ends up just way overcooking in the process. So we still want them to be firm. That's so important. We're just detaching that skin nice and easy, where I can do it with my hands as opposed to you can use a vegetable peeler. This is going to be faster in the long run now that we have everything set up. Easy peasy. Water's almost boiling. We'll go on with our first batch. Okay, pulling out the first batch. I have the next batch ready to go. Gonna let them cool for just a couple of seconds. I'm gonna take my time doing this with you guys today. I actually was going to try and rush through both recipes yesterday, and I told Aaron, you know what, let's close it up, we'll go to the gym. Him and I went and hung out for a little bit. I said it wasn't gonna give the video or the pears, if you will, the justice that they deserved in, let's just not rush this. Let's enjoy the process. Winter is upon us. We cannot quite go out and ice fish and do all of the wonderful winter activities we do because the ice isn't thick enough yet. It's not quite Thanksgiving, it's not quite Christmas, it's not quite ready to decorate for that. Like, it's just a little bit of a holding pattern, and so it is the perfect time. I can handle these, so dropping the next one in. It's just the perfect time to slow down, get some projects done, get some food stocked up on our shelves, especially things that are homemade, homegrown. The tomatillo salsa is amazing, and I'm so proud because I grew every one of those tomatillos for the first time we got enough to harvest. So it's exciting. So I'm just gonna take my time, work with you, walk with you through it, and see what beauty we end up with. So I will probably off camera, otherwise you're just gonna listen to me talk for an hour straight. This will take quite a bit. You know what, I'll time it. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. I'll let you know how long it took to do that whole case, just doing a little bit at a time. Of course, you could do a huge stock pot, drop all of them in, cool all of them. I'm just doing it in a way that makes the most sense for me. So I only ended up with 4 bad pears. I think this was 20 pounds. It's 224, so it took me less than an hour to do all of it in batches. To get everything peeled, it's in the water. I'm gonna clean up and then we'll move to the next phase. So for the pears, we have them clean. We're gonna slice them, but while we're doing that, we're going to preheat our syrup. We're going to heat the pears through in the syrup and then pack them into the jars along with the syrup that we're heating them in. And I'm using the Ball's Home Preserving Cookbook, and I will link this if you're interested. It has the simplest recipes, but mostly it has been a good resource for me to just plain, how do I want to do pears, how do I want to do peaches, all of the fruits, tomatoes, and then it has some other basics like spaghetti sauce or pickles or whatever you really want to can. But it doesn't have anything like wild and crazy in it, like some of the store-bought things that you're like, oh, I wonder how they make that. It's not full of those sort of things. It's a really good starter canning, preserving cookbook. And so I'll link it in case you want to follow along. And so we're going to go with light syrup. It's going to tell you with each of the fruits that you want to do how light of a syrup that you can do. And the reason for that is we need the sugar content in order to safely water bath can and preserve the pears. And so our choices are drain veg, hot, light, or medium syrup. So I can do light or medium, but I cannot with pears because they don't have a high enough acid content for us to do extra light or ultra light, whereas some of the other fruit definitely does. So light is 2.5 cups of sugar to every 5.5 cups of water. And that is it. That is the sugar base, the liquid base that the pears are gonna be canned in. Medium is 3 1/4 cups of sugar to 5 cups of water. And then one makes 6.5 cups of liquid, the other one makes 7. So we're gonna go with light, the 2 1/4 cups to 5 1/4. The recipe we're gonna go with is the light one. I'm repeating this if there's a blink because I misread it. So 2 1/4 cups of granulated sugar to 5 1/4 cups of water. Based on poundage, this says for the recipe 8 to 12 pounds. Well, we have 20. So if we go with the 8 pounds, let's go ahead and triple it. We're better off to triple it and have more just sugar and water than what we need than to not have enough. And it does say it goes all the way up to 12 pounds of fruit, which would be doubled. It's so right there on the line that we'll triple it just to have exactly what we need. So 3 times 2 1/4 cups of sugar. I broke out my 2-gallon bucket of organic white sugar. So 3 times 2 is 6. 1, 6, and 1/4 times 3 is 3/4. So that's a half plus, you know, we'll just do another whole half just for good measure because it can go up to the medium syrup, which is 3 1/4 cups. It's a whole cup more and 5 cups of water, and a half cup is what I cut out. So that's our sugar. Now we want to do 15, call it 16 cups of water. I have an 8-cup measuring. 8 cups going in. All right, so 16 cups, that's enough. We're gonna go ahead and start heating that while we process the pears. The recipe doesn't call for any spices, but I have canned enough and it's my home recipe. And so for mine, I'm going to add just some cinnamon sticks in. I'll probably leave those out, but while it comes up to temperature, in fact, I have a ton of these from Azure for the Christmas holidays. I'm just gonna float a few cinnamon sticks in there to give the juice just a little warmth to the pears, and pears live up really, really well to things like cinnamon, ginger, and some of the other just warm holiday type of spices, but I don't wanna overwhelm the canned pears. Okay, so we're gonna gently take the pear, we're gonna cut it in half, and then in quarters, and then just laying my knife to the side, I'm gonna core it like that, and then that is going to be, it takes the entire core from where the stem is all the way through the seeds. You can do half pears and just use something to scrape out the center to hollow it out. These are real soft. So this first bowl, so that we're not turning brown and I can work in batches, I've just barely, it's not quite to a rolling boil, but it's come up to a simmer, and the cinnamon is giving off like a rich, dark color to the sugar water. And you know, I'll just show you. And so everything is dissolved. You see the steam coming up. It's nice and warm. Perfect. Okay, so into that, we're gonna go with our first batch of pears. Swirl them around. I have the water bath canner from yesterday going. I might need to, already steaming there. I have clean jars that are ready to go. I might be cutting off my head a little bit. So I have a funnel, a slotted spoon, and a ladle. The pears are just heating through. I'm very gently, because we're gonna water bath these for 25 minutes. I don't want to overcook them. So I'm gonna fill the jars. Leaving at least a ½ inch of head space. And so I'm coming in just a little bit short, and we'll see how that does. We may need to throw a few more in. Oh my gosh, you guys, these smell amazing. So, okay, top them off with the hot sugar water. Okay, I'm gonna move these to the side for just a second. All right, so I got 9 quarts and 1 pint. What I am gonna do, normally I have a chopstick, but I am gonna make sure that I bubble or let all the air out by doing that. Then this rag is soaked, it is wet. the pears like to flow out of the juice, but each one is at that 1/2 inch mark. And then you wanna wash the lids when you get them because they come from a factory, of course. And in that factory, there could be like shards of metal or what have you. So finger tight. And into the canner. We're just gonna keep going. Okay, so bubble. But I don't wanna break apart my pears. And I have a little cooking liquid left, not even one whole batch, so we did good tripling it. Just make sure there's no sugar, because that won't seal. Brand new clean lid, used ring, finger tight, into the canner. Quarts go for 25 minutes, pints go for 20. We're gonna heat them just like yesterday to that rolling boil over the top of the jars, making sure they're completely submerged and at that temperature for 25 minutes. So get that loaded up. Isn't that a beautiful sight? So the 3 others, I just sat right here. This is so hot. Look, the water is just evaporating. It's not so hot as to boil them, but it's keeping them nice and warm to go in, and I won't have to reheat. So 25 minutes. I almost have the dishes done while this came up to a boil. I'll probably get the floors done in the second batch, but I'm just gonna clean up. I mean, what a perfect thing. It's all done, it's all in. We're done with all of it. I have a box to throw away and I can get the house cleaned up. I'll probably stoke up the fire. It is going on low because I am sweating. I don't know if you can see that. And yes, we do cook with a wood cook stove and we do heat our house with it. It's extremely difficult to can with it. What I would have to do and the amount of wood that I would burn through versus the propane, we haul our own propane to the house to run this stove and our water heater. Those are the only 2 things that the propane runs, no heat sources. Yeah, that would be unbelievable. I have talked to some other YouTubers that have wood cook stoves. Whipple Holler, I think is her name. Her and I had a conversation about canning on the wood cook stove, and she said it is horrific. She water bath canned 1 time, never again. So it would take so much. And this morning I was saying, before my camera so kindly died, you would think with it being 4 degrees out and having a wood cook stove going that I could can in situations like this, but I cannot. The windows, the insulation, all of that, whew, they have me burning up in this kitchen. I have that turned down all the way to low and this house is steaming. So 25 minutes. Well, there we have it. I've just covered the jars so they don't get breeze on them. They are super hot right now. So I hope you enjoyed some time with me today, just filling our pantry week after week, little projects, big stocks, whatever it is that gets that thing full so that we can live off of it for a very long time. The more the merrier as far as all of that goes. So I hope maybe you learned something or just enjoyed it. And if you did, would you do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button? When you ring the bell, it tells YouTube that you're actually interested in the videos that we produce, and that sure would help us out. So with that, thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking out of your day, your time, your week to spend it with me on my little Alaska homestead. And I hope, above all, that you are blessed, that you have a fantastic week and weekend ahead of you, and that you will come back and see us in the next video. Until then, bye for now.